The fact that some advisor who...
As you look live at the White House there, sometimes you have gremlins, sometimes it's just not as smooth as other times. That's why we're bringing in our panel to save it all. Jonah Goldberg, senior editor, National Review. Ron Fournier, senior political columnist of National Journal, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. As we wait for the gremlins to leave us, let's talk about Jonathan Gruber and the headache this has caused this administration and Obamacare in general.
Yeah, I was out of town last week, so I missed a lot of this.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And you heard about it.
I heard about it, but it was today doing my homework for this that I finally read up on it. And I just got angrier and angrier about it. In a lot of ways, this spectacle represents not just everything that's wrong with the Obama administration, but sort of everything that's wrong with liberalism and a lot that's wrong with America itself. You've got this guy who is pretending to be an objective, independent analyst who's got huge amounts of skin in the game in terms of money he can make off consulting fees, but also off of the prestige of being involved in the speeches he can do, which haven't been tallied in these numbers. Anyway, it's millions of dollars being touted around through a transmission belt of liberal journalists who all are pretending to be objective analysts too, quoting each other, reaffirming each other, all with the help of the White House, which went along with this soup to nuts, a process which this guy says was all about lies and misleading the American people. And then when caught about it, the same administration tries to dismiss him as if he was just some sort of, random White House intruder. The whole thing stinks. And part of the problem is not just that he's getting rich. It's the hypocrisy that every time Republicans complain about Obamacare, they say, oh, it's just because those evil, profit-hungry Koch brothers are trying to get rich, which was always a lie. It is also that this law itself makes American life more complex. And then there's this leeching new class of people who profit from the complexity that they are imposing upon the society. And so it's like a piñata. You can hit it from any angle, and you'll get something out of it.
You feel plugged back in?
I feel a little bit,
back in the mix?
Yes, I'm working on it.
Ron.
Well, I was kidding Jonah because the President of the United States said just yesterday, I just heard about this. Now, you were on vacation. You managed to hear about it. How can you not hear about the fact that one of your chief advisors on your signature bill said that the American people were stupid and that we deceived them in passing the bill? Either he didn't hear about it or he's completely out of touch. And I have a theory. Either he's lying about it or he's completely out of touch. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's completely out of touch because his staff decided not to tell him because they agree with everything Gruber thinks, including they think we're stupid.
So he just didn't know?
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and his staff did not tell him because they think it's just, yeah, that's how we did things, and this is no big deal. This is how you get legislation passed. That's what they've been telling me. Sure. And I do think they think the American people are stupid, and I'm saying that as somebody who wants to succeed. You're exactly right about everything else you said.
Charles, before we get to you, and this is a good, what they call deep tease, more from Charles after this piece that we wanted to show you with the history and the facts behind this story.
I just heard about this. I get well briefed before I come out here. The fact that some advisor who never worked on our staff expressed an opinion that I completely disagree with in terms of the voters is no reflection on the actual process that was run.
In Brisbane, President Obama tried hard to downplay Jonathan Gruber's role in the formation of his health care bill. Gruber, who was not only paid by HHS, but eventually made millions from other federal agencies and states, has since talked often about his time dealing directly with President Obama.
So we had a meeting in the Oval Office with several experts, including myself.
Leaving all of that out, President Obama issued a challenge to reporters in Australia.
I would just advise every press outlet here, go back and pull up every clip, every story, and I think it's fair to say that there was not a provision in the health care law that was not extensively debated and was fully transparent.
Looking back, even in 2010, the process was considered anything but transparent. In fact, as James Rosen noted, the founder of liberalfiredoglake.com, Jane Hampshire, wrote in March of 2010 about Gruber. She called his contract with HHS troubling, lamenting the, quote, lack of disclosure on the part of the White House, the Senate, the DNC, and other Democratic leaders who distributed Gruber's work and cited it as independent validation of their proposals. orchestrating the appearance of broad consensus, when in fact it was all part of the same effort. An effort that started picking up steam soon after Gruber's $400,000 HHS contract went into effect in 2009. Before long, Gruber was being cited everywhere. On Capitol Hill.
According to Gruber, who has been our guide on a lot of this, it's somewhere in the vicinity of an $8 billion cost.
And in the press. In early November 2009, Gruber released his House health care bill analysis, which was picked up by then Washington Post columnist Ezra Klein under the blog title, Massachusetts Provides Evidence That Health Care Reform Lowers Insurance Premiums. MIT health economist John Gruber sends along a paper looking at premiums under the new House plan. The White House blog then quickly linked to Klein's post and praised Gruber's, quote, objective analysis, which then made its way back up to Capitol Hill. And still no mention that Gruber was working for HHS.
I don't know if you have seen Jonathan Gruber of MIT's analysis of what the comparison is to the status quo versus what will happen in our bill.
2 weeks later came Gruber's analysis of the Senate version of the health care bill. That was picked up by Atlantic's Ron Brownstein in a piece called A Milestone in the Health Care Journey. In it, Gruber is quoted, sourced this way, quote, Gruber is a leading health economist at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology who is consulted by politicians in both parties. Nothing about his HHS contract or any other consulting with the administration or Congress on the bill. In the piece, Gruber is quoted stating, quote, they really make the best effort anyone has ever made. Everything is in here. I can't think of anything I'd do that they are not doing in the bill. You couldn't have done better than they are doing. Firedog Lake's Jane Hampshire writes, the DNC sent out that Brownstein column in its entirety, one of some 71 emails the party sent out touting Gruber's work. Mike Allen of Politico had this post in his playbook the next day under the heading, Obama makes Ron Brownstein blog post mandatory reading for the West Wing, saying all senior staff and anyone involved or covering health care should see the piece. Allen's post was in turn cited by the White House blog, and soon Gruber was being celebrated on the Senate floor.
Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Jonathan Gruber is one of the most respected economists in the world. Said in today's Washington Post, here's a quote, here's a bill that reduces the deficit, covers 30 million people, 30 million more people, and has a promise of lowering premiums. Pretty good statement.
That op-ed Gruber wrote in the Washington Post laid out his analysis of the cost of the bill. And here's how he was identified at the end. Quote, the writer is a professor of economics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And so it went, for months. Hampshire wrote that Gruber's spreadsheet for scoring the bill ended up looking very similar to the Congressional Budget Office official scoring, adding, quote, now that it is known that Jonathan Gruber was a White House consultant, the assumptions that have been used by the White House to estimate the impact of the health care bill for decades to come should be made publicly available.
The reason that I think this conversation ends up being a little frustrating is because the focus entirely is on Washington process. And yes, I have said it. That is an ugly process.
This is one-sixth of the U.S. economy, though, sir.
Yes, sir.
One-sixth.
And Brent, let me tell you something. The fact of the matter is that for the vast majority of people, their health care is not going to change.
So how can
the notion
you guarantee that they're not going to be able to keep their doctor?
Brett, you got to let me finish my answer.
But sir, I know you don't like the filibuster.
This notion that this has been not transparent, that people don't know what's in the bill. Everybody knows what's in the bill. I sat for 7 hours.
Mr. President, you couldn't tell me what the special deals are that are in or not today.
I just told you what was
Connecticut in?
Connecticut. What are you specifically referring to?
$100 million for the hospital. Is Montana in for the asbestos program? Listen, there are people, this is real money.
Absolutely.
People are worried about this stuff.
And as I said before, the final provisions are going to be posted for many days before this thing passes.
That was 3 days before the House voted on the health care bill. That eventually became law. That was March 17th, 2010. Okay, Charles, that was worth waiting for.
You know, all the glitches you talk about, that's not gremlins. That's the vast left-wing conspiracy rearing its ugly head in the middle of this as a distraction. Look, I'm entirely with Ron on this. I think the president was not told about what's going on. And the reason is that they've had 6 years' experience of the press essentially conspiring with them, and the amazing show of events that you just had in that piece, in which the administration issues statements, it uses Gruber reports, it's echoed by their minions in the press, then repeated by Democrats as if this is objective evidence, is simply one example of it. The other one is, I think that they calculated the president could go a week without talking about it and then pretend he never heard of it because you wouldn't hear about it in the press. And in fact, except for Fox, you look at all the networks, and you showed that last week, it's been a blackout. I remember reading, I think it was on Saturday, there was a story on this, probably the first time, New York Times, on page 12 in a box way down at the bottom. And the whole impetus of the story is Republicans upset about or criticizing about. This is a scandal of the first order, and they imagined they would actually get away with it. And when you see everybody pretending that they had never heard of this guy, when you show the evidence, everybody, he was in the White House 19 times. So when they make the movie, it'll be called The Man Who Never Was. And I think this is an extension of the Secret Service scandal. Gruber jumped the fence of the White House. He got through an open door, and he sat in the Oval Office and joined 19 meetings. And that's exactly what happened.
Jonah, not only all the stuff that we laid out there, but in 2012, the Obama campaign pointed to Gruber as an architect of Obamacare and Romneycare. They saw Gruber as an asset against Mitt Romney on the issue of health care, and they put that bio, if you will, and articles about him on the Obama campaign response to the debate in 2012.
I mean, they could not. What's infuriating about, or one of the things that's infuriating about this, is the whole "why are you believing your lying eyes" approach to this. I mean, it's like a Jedi mind trick that they think is working, but somehow they can deny knowing this guy. I've been following the healthcare debate. We've been following the healthcare debate for years. The idea that Jonathan Gruber. Yeah, the president is right. He's not some staffer, because staffers rank lower than Jonathan Gruber in the role of the healthcare rollout. He was a consultant that went on loan to help script doctor the bill for the House. He was, or for the Senate. He was the guy that was supposedly the architect of Mitt Romney's healthcare plan, that Barack Obama, even as of last couple weeks ago after the midterms, was citing and tweaking the Republicans, saying, look, I'm just doing what Mitt Romney did. The idea that this guy is not implicatable in the entire, foundation of lies of this thing is outstanding. And when he says there was this honest debate, it's not an honest debate if one side is always lying. You can't debate something if one side is constantly obscuring the facts and not conceding facts and evidence.
Quickly, Ron, there is something to the White House that says, forget about what we've said before. We're moving forward on this. I mean, they've done it numerous times on numerous issues, like we don't have videotape.
Yeah, again and again and again, they say, they really believe if we say something, that will make it true. And they do think that we're stupid and we're not going to check the videotape. And they were in bed with the left-wing media and helped concoct this. Just like, and I'm not excusing the White House, but it's somewhat similar to me what happened with Iraq, where you had the right-wing media in bed with the White House and push an agenda that they knew where it wanted to come. Not excusing what happened with the White House, but we do have a bigger problem here. We live in an era where the trust in the presidency is at an all-time low, the trust in Congress is at an all-time low, the trust in the Supreme Court is at an all-time low, and the trust in the media is below all of that.